In a frantic call, a voice trembled through the line, pleading for help. A discovery had been made in a garage, something wrapped in a plastic bag. The responder's inquiry followed. What is it? The answer sent chills down their spine. It's a little baby. The Pleasant Grove police received this haunting 911 call. Upon their arrival, they met Darren West, visibly shaken after an unsettling conversation with his wife, Megan Huntsman. In disbelief, he recounted, "What the hell is this? What have you done?" Darren's mind raced, clouded with confusion. Megan's dismissive response echoed in his ears. "Oh, you did? Get over it." As they stepped into the garage, they remained unaware of the horrors lurking inside. He recalled the presence of tape, the deeper they dug into the boxes, revealing a second child. The fear of more lingered in the air as Darren confessed, "I can't remember a damn thing." "How many do you think there would be?" Darren pondered, shock evident in his voice. Holy, what is going on? It was April 12, 2014, when he returned home after serving time for drug charges, only to stumble upon an unimaginable scene. With dread, he made the unsettling 911 call. "Pleasant Grove Police," the operator answered. "Oh yes, ma'am. Can I have an officer come to this address?" His voice faltered. "I think it's a miscarriage." "Can you be more specific? What do you mean by a miscarriage?" The operator pressed. "I have no idea. Just please send an officer up here." Panic surged as he continued. "It's been wrapped up in a plastic bag." The shocking revelation followed. It's a little baby. When the police arrived in Pleasant Grove, Utah, they found the garage door wide open. Darren stood outside, flanked by family, who had come to help him move. The officers exchanged glances, sensing the gravity of the situation. "Who lives here?" one officer inquired. Darren responded, 1, 2, 3, double house. "My 2 daughters live here." Confusion hung in the air as officers asked, "Seriously? Cleaning the garage?" Darren explained, "I got the $48 pass because I've been gone for so long anyway." He pointed out a box. There was a box over there. It was all wrapped up. And this? What is this? The box, an ordinary-looking fruit container, sat just outside the garage, tightly sealed with electrical tape. Inside, investigators found a bag, encased in layers of duct tape, as if someone had gone to extreme lengths to conceal its contents. When they finally peeled it open, the horror inside would leave an indelible mark on their minds, the lifeless body of a fully decomposed baby. The garage was cluttered with boxes, towering from floor to ceiling. How are we going to get through all of these? One officer wondered aloud. They contacted the medical examiner's office, who promptly dispatched an investigator. Bewilderment and shock filled the air. Speechless, Darren grappled with the reality of the situation. Questions loomed large. What was this child doing here? Who was the mother? Where did it come from? The officers quickly sealed off the scene, aware that they were at the beginning of a grim investigation. The room was a labyrinth of boxes, towering from floor to ceiling, a chaotic testament to neglect. Hundreds of them lined the walls, creating an overwhelming obstacle. The question lingered in the air. How could they possibly sift through this madness? In desperation, they reached out to the medical examiner's office, who swiftly dispatched an investigator. Bewilderment and shock enveloped the scene. The scene was surreal, leaving witnesses speechless. How could one comprehend the horror of such a discovery? The haunting questions echoed. What was this child doing here? Who was the mother? Where did it come from? The officers moved quickly to seal off the area, ensuring the investigation could commence. Confusion lingered in the air as the officers grappled with the grim reality before them. It was clear that this was now a homicide investigation. As they began their search, moving from box to box, they were unaware that the darkness they had uncovered was only the beginning of a far more chilling narrative. But amidst the unfolding chaos, one critical question loomed large. Where was Megan Huntsman? She was the key to unlocking this troubling mystery, the only person who could provide the answers that haunted the investigation. The investigator pressed for details about Megan Huntsman. His inquiry revealed a tangled web of relationships as he sought to clarify the nature of her connection to the individual before him. Despite the complexities, he confirmed, legally, she remained his wife. Megan Huntsman had stood by her husband during his imprisonment, but after 2 years, she vanished, leaving only questions in her wake. The investigator's focus sharpened as he probed into her whereabouts, seeking to pinpoint her last known location. The individual recounted a moment of anguish when he confronted her, overwhelmed by disbelief. He recalled exclaiming in shock, "What have you done?" As the gravity of the situation began to sink in. In a heated exchange, one individual confronted another, demanding clarity on the ownership of a troubling secret. The response was evasive, filled with uncertainty and denial, as he muttered about his lack of knowledge. The officers remained focused on Megan, attempting to piece together the disturbing events. "Are you able to help us understand what's going on here?" Beckstrom asked. "It was a miscarriage," she replied. "How far into your pregnancy were you?" Beckstrom continued, relentlessly seeking the truth. "How soon can you come down here? Our detectives need to ask you some follow-up questions to rule out any foul play." Her apprehension was palpable. "Okay, listen to me. I need you to stay at your residence." A West Valley City officer was dispatched to take her into custody. The atmosphere was tense. It wasn't just Darren who felt disturbed. Neighbors had also reported an unsettling, foul smell emanating from the garage as more officers gathered at the scene. The officers meticulously searched every corner of the property, which had quickly earned the grim moniker House of Horror. Meanwhile, Megan sat down with Detective Beckstrom, who aimed to uncover the reasons behind her choice to conceal the baby. Instead of seeking medical assistance or notifying authorities, Megan's story took a darker turn. "You know why we're here and what we're here to talk about," Beckstrom urged her. "Start from the beginning and tell me what happened." Her voice trembled as she recounted, "We were doing a lot of drugs. That's why he was in prison. I wasn't even aware I was pregnant just before he left. I thought it was just stress. He went to prison in 2006. How far along were you then?" Beckstrom inquired. "A couple of months," she replied, her eyes darting away. "Where did you have the baby?" "In the house, in the bathroom," she confessed, the weight of her words hanging heavily in the air. "Describe to me what happened," Beckstrom pressed, his tone steady. "I was in a lot of pain that day. I didn't go to work. My kids were at school. I sat in the bathroom and pushed really hard." Her voice faltered. "The baby wasn't crying, and I was alone. Panic washed over her. I wrapped it up, not thinking clearly about calling you guys. It was shocking. It was stupid of me." When asked what she meant by wrapping it up, she hesitated. "Looking back, I would have called the cops and told them I had a baby. Then I could begin to breathe." Megan repeated the same story she had told Darren, that the baby had been stillborn. Despite her apparent distress, inconsistencies began to emerge within her narrative. "It's true you were on the toilet, and you had the baby. You said you tried to get it to breathe. What did you do finally?" Beckstrom pressed for clarity. "I tried to clean its mouth out," she responded, "but I couldn't get a response. I couldn't feel a heartbeat. Then," she added with a tremor in her voice, "I passed out a little. I think I lost a lot of blood. Someone else had moved it." The baby had been concealed in a box in the garage since the year Darren went to prison. When asked if she worried someone might discover it, she hesitated. During the garage cleanup, she recalled sliding the box aside and sweeping around it, placing other items on top to obscure it. Megan's narrative appeared to serve as a justification for her actions. With her husband incarcerated, Megan found herself drowning in stress, heavily influenced by drugs that distorted her reality. However, as Detective Beckstrom probed deeper, his suspicions intensified. "That's so scary," she murmured, uncertainty flooding her words. "I don't know," I was thinking. "I have no idea. Do you remember if the name was for a boy or a girl?" Detective Beckstrom pressed on. "Did anyone else know you were pregnant?" Her response was evasive. "I don't show at all." "Did you tell anyone?" "Okay, had you had stillborn babies prior to this? And with these miscarriages, did they all happen at home? Is there anything else you think I should have asked that I haven't?" In a moment of vulnerability, the investigator posed a critical question. He wanted to know if there was anything else that Megan Huntsman wished to disclose. The objective was clear: to ensure a proper burial for the baby, providing a moment of closure for her, her family, and her husband, who is currently incarcerated. The investigator empathized with Megan, acknowledging the overwhelming burden of raising her children alone. He noted the gravity of her recent discovery that her husband had never fathered any children. He pressed her further, asking what she envisioned as proper closure, hoping to glean more insight into her turmoil. It became evident to the detective that Megan believed she deserved punishment for her actions. He questioned her awareness of wrongdoing, emphasizing that they were still piecing together the unfolding story without any immediate decisions made regarding her fate. Detective Beckstrom found it peculiar that Megan harbored such a profound fear of incarceration. If the baby had indeed been stillborn, and the only offense was the improper disposal of the body, why did she carry such immense guilt? There was an unsettling depth to her fear, something unspoken that gnawed at the detective's instincts. Meanwhile, officers at the residence were deepening their search, their efforts leading them to yet another suspicious box. As they pried open the box, a deeply disturbing scene emerged, revealing a chilling beginning to the horrors that lay within. The detective recalled the tape sealing it, and upon removal, they found heavy padding enclosing its contents. As they delved deeper, the discovery of a second child surged through the detective's mind like a wave of anger. He recalled the exact thought that crossed his mind: what in the actual hell is going on? Each box they opened was met with an overpowering stench that filled the air. A strange liquid began seeping through the bottom of the bags, prompting officers to alert Detective Beckstrom. He confronted Megan, seeking answers, yet nothing could have prepared him for the chilling revelation that would follow. The detective pressed her about the second baby, and in a moment of grim admission, Megan acknowledged there were more. She expressed remorse, revealing that she had concealed each child. Megan recounted how her husband must have known about her pregnancies, admitting that there were others. When pressed about the total number, she hesitated, uncertain. Her history of drug abuse, particularly with methamphetamine and heavy drinking, clouded her judgment, but it could not excuse her actions. The toll of addiction had ravaged her ability to make rational choices. Yet, the detective sensed she was still withholding a horrific truth, one that would leave everyone shaken to their core. To begin unraveling the grim reality, the detective asked her to recall her first child. He inquired about her first miscarriage, trying to trace back to the moment it all began. She struggled to remember. In the town's eyes, all her children were thought to be stillborn. Yet, the detective sought clarity: were any of them carried to full term? The answer was no, and the weight of her words lingered in the air. The detective pressed on, asking how many more bodies they might uncover in the garage. Megan's response confirmed the horror for. She had placed them all in the garage, hidden away from the world. He sought to confirm details, wanting to relay precise information to the detectives. She assured him that all 4 boxes were stored in the same cabinet within the garage. When asked why she hadn't sought help, she expressed fear of revealing her pregnancies in a place like Utah, where large families were uncommon. Years had passed since then, and the detective questioned her choices. Her youth had faded, yet her troubling decisions remained. Megan maintained that her drug use had clouded her judgment. She insisted that her addiction had led her to make poor choices. Detective Beckstrom pressed on, asking if it felt liberating to finally tell the truth. With the knowledge of more hidden bodies, he quickly reached out to the officers at the scene, mobilizing over 30 of them to meticulously search every corner of the house. Their search stretched for hours, and as the investigation unfolded, so did the interrogation. They discussed countless details, yet uncertainty loomed regarding the search warrant, given the gravity of the situation. The detective informed her that they would also secure a search warrant for her house in L.A. He questioned her directly, asking if there was anything pertinent at that location. With a dismissive tone, she replied that only her clothes remained there. The investigator pressed further, seeking confirmation that the remains had been hidden away in the garage all this time. The response was chilling. Yes, they had remained there for 8 long years, untouched. As the conversation shifted, the investigator sought clarity about the boxes containing the remains. He asked whether they had ever been removed from the cabinet, probing into the past 9 years with a sense of urgency. The individual reflected on the time spent in the house, recalling a recent visit when he had retrieved personal belongings. It was then that he had seen the boxes. He hesitated, pondering whether anyone else had ever known about the tragic secret hidden in the garage. The investigator pressed for details, questioning how a box could end up on a shelf beside a cabinet. The answer was uncertain, with the individual admitting that he may have moved it, but could not recall the specifics. The investigator continued, seeking clarity on the timeline. The individual recalled a time, painfully aware of how long it had been since he had last stepped foot in that house, a house that now bore the weight of an unspeakable tragedy. While it was not unheard of for a woman to conceal a pregnancy, the thought of doing so multiple times raised profound doubts. The detectives began to connect the dots, and a chilling realization started to emerge from the shadows of this perplexing case. The investigator's voice softened as he sought to ease the burden of guilt. He pressed for details about the births, asking what actions had been taken in those critical moments when the babies were born, lifeless and blue. The individual's fear was palpable as he recounted his frantic attempts to revive the infants, shaking them in desperation, a haunting reflection of the depths of his terror. Detective Beckstrom pressed for details, inquiring about the suction device that was allegedly used to clean the babies' mouths. He recalled the chilling description of a tub filled halfway with water. The question hung heavily in the air: was that baby alive when it was born? Megan, reflecting on the gravity of the moment, believed it was, at least for a fleeting instant. As the interrogation continued, the detective urged her to consider the implications of her actions. He implored her to reflect on the life that had just been extinguished. Was the baby moving? Did it take its first breath? The answer was a haunting no. Megan's voice trembled as she confessed that she had seen a faint heartbeat, but not for long. Beckstrom pressed further, asking about the baby born during her imprisonment, the one she had delivered while sitting on the toilet. Was that when it took its last breath? With a heavy heart, she recounted the other 2 births, including one on the bed. She speculated that it too might have been alive for a brief moment. Detective Beckstrom felt the weight of the revelation wash over him as Megan finally confessed to the unimaginable. This was no accident. These were deliberate murders. Beckstrom, understanding the gravity of her admission, posed a pivotal question. Did she kill the baby immediately after it was born? He emphasized the need for the unvarnished truth. Which baby? He pressed, her fear palpable in the room. Megan, overwhelmed, admitted to being intoxicated during these harrowing events. Beckstrom's inquiry turned sharper. Did she believe all 4 babies had been alive at birth? Her response was chilling. She was certain that at least one had not survived. As the pieces fell into place, she acknowledged her grim actions. She had wrapped the lifeless infants in towels, discarded them in garbage bags, and ultimately left them in a box hidden away in the crutches. According to her, one was dead at birth, while the other 3 had drawn breath, if only for a moment. In a moment of vulnerability, she confessed her fear, stating she was terrified of the shock. When asked if she had ever shared this with anyone, the answer was a haunting no, revealing the isolation of her secret. The detective pressed on, questioning whether the DNA tests would reveal different identities. She confirmed yes, they would. With that, the detective left the room, his heart heavy with the weight of what he had just uncovered. It had been the hardest interrogation of his career. Once he was out of her sight, he sank to his knees, taking several deep breaths to process the gravity of the situation. The reality of the case weighed heavily on him. Holy hell, she had killed these babies. Back at the crime scene, the officers had been searching the garage for over 3 hours, their unease palpable, an undercurrent of dread that couldn't be measured. No one could have anticipated the shocking discoveries that lay ahead. This was shaping up to be one of the longest and most harrowing days in his career, emotionally draining, physically exhausting, the air thick with a sense of dread and yet an unwavering determination. As the detective pressed for details, he recalled her earlier statement about hiding the boxes with the babies in the cabinet. Had she ever taken them out? Given the passage of 9 years, the detective knew things could have easily shifted. He wondered if anyone knew that the babies were hidden in the garage. Desperation fueled their search for the truth. Eventually, they located the 3rd baby, tightly packed in a box, sealed with layers of duct tape. As the officers carefully pried it open, the stark reality of their findings sent chills down their spines. The investigation took a grim turn when authorities discovered a body, cold and lifeless, wrapped in a plastic bag and concealed beneath layers of vinyl. As the search progressed, the team unearthed a 4th body, soon followed by a 5th. This last infant lay hidden under 2 blankets and 2 bath towels, stashed away in the bottom left corner of a cubby, shrouded in secrecy. Just when the investigators believed they had encountered the full extent of this horrifying case, an even greater shock awaited them. The news broke that a 5th baby had been located within the home. The situation was becoming increasingly overwhelming. How many innocent lives had been lost, and what dark truths lurked behind these tragic discoveries? In a moment of reflection, one investigator expressed relief at their progress, yet unease shadowed their thoughts. They sensed that not all was being revealed. How many more bodies could possibly be found? They awaited answers, their mind racing with the implications of what lay ahead. Yet uncertainty loomed. With 5 confirmed dead, The investigator pondered the grim possibility that one of the infants had been stillborn while the others had taken their first breaths. The dread of discovering additional bodies weighed heavy on their conscience. Struggling to recall specifics, they speculated about the potential number of victims. Perhaps 8 or 9 lives had been extinguished in this tragic saga. The search efforts were far from over. The team planned to scour the rest of the house, driven by the haunting possibility of uncovering more. But would they find any more? The investigator felt a chill of resignation. No, they hoped, desperately clinging to the hope that the horror would not deepen further.